from 30 something, Grey's Anatomy. How are you, Peter? And, when we talk about working on a holiday, what's up? Are we both workaholics, man?
I guess we are. I guess that's what we just have to kind of admit to. When you care about something deeply, and when you're working for yourself and working for a cause you really, really believe in, I guess there are no holidays. Time to just get up and do it. So here we are.
And that's the thing, Peter. Even when you're working for somebody else, hey, I signed this contract. I'm expected to do X, Y, and Z. And then when it's my time because we're able to control a little bit more being our own creative, right?
Absolutely. And when you're your own creative, you're tackling projects that you really feel passion for and really care about. And in this case, with this documentary that we're going to talk about today, Roots So Deep, you can see the devil down there. It's about something that's so crucial right now, which is climate change. It's about an issue that, I have two daughters, and I know many of your viewers have kids, I'm sure. And, watching them grow up in a time where there's that threat hanging over their heads, you just find yourself really motivated to try and do something to reassure them and to actually make a difference. And I really think we've come across that with this movie. It's basically the concept is to take cattle, which traditionally have been a real challenge for tackling climate change, and turning it into a positive. And it's by the director Peter Byck, and he's come up with this, or he's shining a light on a thing called alternative multi-paddock grazing, which is basically an acronym for what the bison used to do in the Great Plains. It's a way of grazing that really helps pull down, believe it or not, carbon out of the air. And the concept of it is that if you keep the cattle moving and don't let them stay on one field for too long, it allows the plants to regenerate. It allows them to kick into photosynthesis, which basically is drawing carbon out of the air, putting it back into the soils where it's needed, where the microbes needed to survive, and creating, it's a win-win for not only climate change, but also for ranchers and farmers. It gets them out of debt because it's a money saver, big time money saver, because they're not having to spend money on pesticides and seeds and all of the things that put them on their heels. It restores the depleted soils, it rebuilds wildlife habitat, and it draws down huge amounts of carbon. And so what he's done, which is why I'm so excited about this project, is he's gone to 5 pairs of families or ranches in the Southeast. One neighbor is a conventional farmer, the other one is an AMP farmer, AMP, the alternative farming approach. And he's brought a team of scientists along with him that are, that are people who deal with everything from soil health to the bird health to just the comprehensive take on the farm itself. And they go into both ranches and they analyze them both and bring these results up that show, what's water retention like, how healthy are your cattle, how much are you spending, how expensive are all of these things, and it compares them. And then the question gets asked throughout this film: will the conventional farmers be moved by that? Will they decide to make the change? And in the process, you get to know these people. You get moved by them. You laugh with them. You cry with them. I mean, it's such an entertaining film with such a potential solve, or at least a potential part of a solve for the biggest challenge we have in front of us, climate change. So
And
that's why I'm so excited about it and why I'm talking so much about it.
it's so intriguing because then we can look at different things with cows, right? You know how we've been looking at genetically modified beef is the only beef we'll be able to eat at one point in time, right? And which is not
Right,
going to be great for our health, right? It's gonna
right.
anything that's genetically modified, you can't expect to get the nutrients or the different things out of it. At least by what you're proposing through this documentary is to keep us having the ability to eat beef and in farming and all that, right? Wouldn't you agree? The kind of and make a change. I mean, it still keep things as they are, but the farmers change.
Hmm. Well, you know what's interesting is we have the ability to tackle climate change. That's not the issue. The issue is time. Are we going to do it in time, given the obstacles and the headwinds? We are not going to be able to snap our fingers and get rid of all cattle in the world. That's just not going to happen. So what this does is it sort of takes that challenge, because cattle in conventional grazing are really bad for the environment. They're not helpful. But if you take that reality that we have, which is that they're not going to go away, and you turn it to this approach, it really is a win-win for everybody. It's a low piece of hanging fruit on the tree of climate change solutions. You really, it's a benefit to everybody, including just the whole biosphere. You know, the birds and the insects and the types of grasses, the cattle themselves. It's a way of practically and pragmatically approaching climate change from a perspective that really can benefit everybody. And you don't run into those very often.
No, no,
Usually
you
there's a cost to be paid. You know, you really don't.
100%. And it's and like I said, you're coming up with a solution, and a solution that might want most of the country might be interested in. That's the difference, right?
That's right.
Compared
That's
to
right.
no one have it at all. Now, how different was this for you to direct and produce and put together something like this versus some of your other projects?
Well, I didn't direct this one. This was directed by
Oh,
Peter Mick,
okay.
who's spent 10 years of his life
Oh,
doing this. He's incredible. He's the host of it as well. Peter is so, he's much more, I'm a dog with a bone when I have a project that I really care about. This guy
I got it.
is a much bigger bone, is a much bigger dog and a much bigger bone than I am for that sort of a thing. So he's incredible. And he's the host of the documentary. He's on camera and he's charming and funny and all that sort of thing. And so for me, it's been, how can I help him get this thing done and out there in a way that's going to really have an impact, which is different than, me obviously writing and directing and producing it. And it's nonfiction, which is a new space for me. And I'm finding it very, inspiring, because people who do nonfiction work, they do it because they really believe in it. It's so much work for so little money,
Right.
but it's a passion for them, and to watch him do that and persist with it is really inspiring.
So what is your role, executive producer? What is your role on the film?
Well, I got into this early with him when he was, editing it and trying to shape it. So I helped him shape it in the editing room and help him get it to the point where, it's what it is today, which is such a beautiful, polished piece of work. But it really is there as someone who can step in and be another sort of trained eye. How do we make this more moving, more clear? How do we edit this so that it's got the right pace? What about the music? All of the stuff that I do with fiction, my fiction projects, just brought that to the nonfiction world to see if I couldn't shape it a bit for him. But it's really, he's the engine. I'm riding on the train.
You definitely seem like you're riding on the train, and it's got to be exciting. And this kind of project gets you up to do some more because you're benefiting the entire earth by doing it. So there you
Yep.
go, right?
Yep.
Compared to other
That's really
projects.
true. And when you have kids, you have to do something. You got to
Yeah.
do everything you can to give them a healthy future. And so, the opportunity to get into this, which feels like a tangible thing, so often you're donating to an organization that's trying to help in this space. But that just feels a little bit ineffective often. And this feels so tangible, so real. If we could get a third of the ranchers in this country to adapt it, we'd be pulling down significant, like a quarter of the carbon output the United States puts out every year. I
Wow.
mean, it's incredible impact. Incredible impact.
Yeah, definitely for sure. What has been the feedback so far of the film?
Well, this is the most exciting part because we've been doing a roadshow tour in the southeast where this was done, and primarily inviting ranchers and people to come who are in this space. And the response has been so enthusiastic because you take what it does is it takes the politics out of this question of climate change. Because a lot of the people in the movie don't believe climate change is real, and they voice that. But the truth, it doesn't matter. This is a benefit to everybody. This is especially, the acute benefit is to the rancher himself. And so the response has been so positive, and that just gives us so much hope that this could actually really make a difference.
Do you have
And
for your
so,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, good.
no, that's okay. I was just going to say, so if you want to see it, it comes out tomorrow on rootsodeep.org. It's rootsodeep.org. You can download it and watch it tomorrow. And boy, is it worth doing. It's such a fun ride.
Oh, it definitely seems like a fun ride. Any other projects you have going on? What are fans of Peter Horton? What's new for you coming up?
Well, I mean, it's been a slow start since the strike and all of that sort of a thing, but we're finally getting going again. I have a number of projects that I'm really hopeful about that are pending. One in particular is a sequel to New Amsterdam, which I'm really hoping to say yes to.
Okay.
And then there's also, we're out pitching a reboot of 30 something, a modernized version of 30 something, which I would really, really love to get going. So we're hopeful of that too. So those are two things to look for.
That means when you come back on my show, you'll have to definitely talk about them. When I talk about New Amsterdam, I work with NBC on a regular basis, and I interviewed a lot of people from New Amsterdam show. That show was doing really well. It did a really good job. Yes. They had a huge fan base. What was your role in New Amsterdam? Were you mostly actor in this, or what was your role?
No. I don't act much anymore. I was producing and directing and just the executive producer on it with David Schulman.
Oh, congrats. I see. These are things that people don't know, the backstory, right? That about what's happening in Peter. Why don't you want to act? Do you like the behind the camera better?
Acting was a way for me to become a director and a producer and a writer. I didn't know it at the time. I just was sort of picking up a thread on the ground and pulling it. But it led me right to where I'm happiest. I mean, this is what makes me happy. Acting is fun. I enjoy it, but it's not this. This to me is my sweet spot.
Well, a reboot of 30 something. Maybe you will be getting on camera. Who knows? But we appreciate it, Peter. Thanks again. People definitely, again, what's the website that people can go ahead and download the film tomorrow?
Yes, please check it out. It's Roots So Deep, one word, .org. It's well worth checking out. It really, really, really is. It's so much fun. So hope you do.
You're awesome, Peter. Thanks again, man.
My pleasure, man. And go take a little break. Have a little vacation.
Oh no, when it's your baby, not enough time. Time's ticking. Appreciate it, Peter. Appreciate it, sir. All right. You're listening and watching the